want to ask how essential is it to believe in reincarnation
Okay,
as
so
part
would,
of karma?
okay, you haven't been hearing a word near. You note saying, do I have to believe in relativity? It seems so difficult. Can't I just think about 1 + 1 is 2? Is that what you're asking? Do you say you believe in relativity? No, you don't. Do you say you believe in botany? Do you say, can I believe in mathematics? You don't say that, do you? Well, then still, that means that schizophrenic, you know, over here's religion, belief, and over there's proof. So reframe the question, Nia. If you don't know what it is, think about it, honey. I'm really serious here. Reframe the question.
Well, I have to use the word believe.
No, you don't. You still can't hear. Do you say, do I have to believe in relativity if you don't want to study it? Do you say that?
No, but I know.
Can you please look at me? Do you say, I don't want to work hard and think about relativity. Can I just believe in 1 + 1 is 2? That's what you're saying. But would you say that? No, you wouldn't. You'd never use the word belief. Mathematics. Do you hear my point? So you keep saying, I have to say belief, because you just can't get it through your head. And everybody's like this. This is why I push it so hard.
I have a problem with
Buddha,
reincarnation.
excuse me, I know what you've got a problem with. I can hear your words. I'm describing you thinking, using the word belief. So all you mean is you can't be bothered doing the thinking. That's fine, Nia. You don't need to do the thinking. But you don't believe in... Already you believe your mother made you, don't you? You believe that, don't you? But you don't say that. You think it's a scientific truth, don't you? Don't you? Well, have you ever proved it? No, you haven't. So we're extremely arrogant. We've never proved it. We just believe that someone else has proved it, maybe. But the Buddha would say it's total nonsense. They don't give you a mind. It's another view on the universe. So if we want to be respectful to the universe's views, there's so many views. We don't have to listen to Jewish views, religious views, Aboriginal views. We don't have to if we don't want to. You can sit with your view that you believe is the truth and relax. But if you want to listen to other views because you're interested in the universe and how it ticks, then you've got to use your intelligence. What you're really saying is you don't like the idea of reincarnation. I completely understand, but no one's asking you to like it. Or believe in it. Try and get used to this. It's like you might say, because you're used to ordinary, allopathic medicine, oh, do I have to believe in acupuncture? No, you don't have to even think about acupuncture. But you don't say you believe in it. But if you're interested in it, you open your mind to it and you think about it and you study it and learn it. You don't have to study and learn about karma. But to say I don't like it, I mean, it's like a baby. We're all babies, honey. Everybody says like this. I know I'm sounding kind of really ruthless the way I say this, so I'm trying to just pass this ballistic of belief. So you decide. You're in charge of your life, honey. I'm sitting. I'm going to be talking about it. So if you don't like it, then read a book. We'll just sit and let it go in one ear and out the other. So when we say we have a problem with it, what we're meaning is, when you say, oh, I have a problem with acupuncture, it means you're so familiar with your other model, you can't squeeze acupuncture into it, and you won't be able to squeeze it into it, because they're different languages. So the only way to come to terms with acupuncture is to put aside your one model and try to think through the logic of acupuncture. But that's a lot of work. You don't need to, honey. So say the accurate truth, I don't like the idea of reincarnation. So then that's perfectly fine. You don't need to like it. But don't say, I have a problem with it. The only problem you've got with it is you haven't studied the Buddhist teachings enough to see how it's coherent within the Buddhist framework. That's all. Do you see my point now? So relax, honey. Just listen, think about it. It might be a load of rubbish. You might never think of it again. You don't need to. Take what works and be content. But if you want more, that's up to you. That's the approach. Are we communicating?
So I have a question.
Yes.
Mathematics is empirical.
Sorry?
Mathematics is math is empirical.
So what do you mean? Literally, what do you mean? So,
usually when we talk about science, we talk about empirical.
What's it?
About research. When we, I just want to ask.
Okay.
When we talk about Buddhism,
yes.
we talk about values.
We're talking about the world. No, we're not. We're talking about Buddha's view, observation of how the world works. It's actually a model of how the world works. Instead of the mind being the brain, it's called the consciousness. It's not physical. Instead of it coming from your parents, it comes from its past. Instead of it's a view of the universe. It's a highly interesting model of the universe, how the world is, what is matter, what is material, what is mind, how do things function, what is happiness, what is suffering. It is also values. Yes, that's
not to kill.
Pardon?
Not to kill.
Yeah, that's part of the deal. But it's also. Yeah, that is part of it. Morality and ethics is absolutely intrinsic to it. There's no question. But it's not just that.
In mathematics, there is no.
But that I understand. But that's neither. But I understand, that's neither here nor there. But that's neither here nor there in this discussion. That's not the discussion here. We're discussing whether or not it is possible to have a consciousness that is not physical, that's such that when it thinks and does things, it leaves seeds in that consciousness, and when that person dies, that person can be born as a human or a dog, speaking simply. That's to do with, that's mechanics. That's actually Buddha's view of how things exist. So the same discussion about whether mathematics is right, it's the same discussion here. That's the Buddha's approach. Theoretically, do you hear me? We might like it or want it, but that's what we're discussing here. It's not, you see, that's where when we think of religion as only belief, because we can't prove what God says. That's not the discussion here. Yeah. And what's interesting about that point you made, we can understand wisdom. In the ordinary world, we understand wisdom. So a person knows a lot of maths and a lot of incredible things, they've got a lot of wisdom. We get that. But what's fascinating in the Buddhist view, the whole Buddhist view of morality and ethics is inextricably linked to the development of wisdom, which is a whole interesting take on things. Because Buddha's view is this. Intelligence, wisdom or intelligence, sharab in Tibetan is the word for intelligence. Or wisdom, they call the word wisdom. That is exactly that, understanding how things work. Understanding how things work. So like I said before, the mind of a yogi is a mind that's really brilliant when it comes to detail. So that's a mind that, but the Buddha would say that is inextricably linked to the practice of virtue and morality. So the Buddha's deal is this: the more we're caught up in all the neuroses and the deluded states of mind, the more ego we've got, the more we suffer, and the less wisdom we have, because we're seeing our own projections. So as we remove the delusions, so we see things clearly, and that includes, therefore, connecting with others. So morality and wisdom, virtue and wisdom, for the Buddha, are inextricably and logically linked. It might not be evident initially, but I'll see if I can talk about that more. Whereas, we know very well, you can have a genius mathematician, a genius scientist who's a complete deluded maniac who goes up and beats her husband up every day and kills her children, but she can still be a genius mathematician. We don't see the connection, we don't have any relationship, isn't it? But that's the interesting point in Buddhism. And the view of what wisdom is linked to the practice of morality. It's not all there is, but it's utterly inextricably linked, and I'll try and see if I can go into that in more detail. So thank you, it's a very good point. Yes, you said something. What? Yes.
It's more about that I wanted to...
Yes, go. What's the question?
I don't know. I'd like you to talk about it more.
What?
Like the concept of good and bad in...
I understand. I said, okay, I will. Exactly. Any more questions? I will. Yes, yes.
I don't know if it's time, if we talked about it,
Go
but
on.
karma
Yes.
and free will.
What is this? You see, everybody says free will, but as far as I'm concerned, it's what came from Jesus Christ, which came from God. How do you guys get free will? Does it come from God as well? You have the same concept? Because that's the Christian teaching, that God made me and then gave me free will. So it's now, please stop. I need you to stop for a minute. Please be careful. Wait. Please wait. Abraham.
It's the same in Judaism.
Good, fantastic. So that means God made you and then gave you the ability to make choices. Is that right?
Yeah.
No.
No. Here we go. You see, you Jews never agree. Ever. I've never known two Jews in one room to agree on anything, so I give up. I'm astonished. Never mind. So never
God
mind.
is just imagination.
Excuse me, you just have your own particular Drew. I don't think you're even a Jew. You make up your own Drew. You just got your own Judaism. It's youism. You've got your-ism. So listen, this is the point right back to the beginning. Okay, this is what's so fascinating, this one, This is so fascinating. I can't get over it. Okay. First of all, I will not use the term free will because Buddhist view does not have that concept, and it's such a bizarre concept. So what? Another word for it, please. How would you say it in ordinary English, ordinary words? What would you?
If I need to make a decision,
Yeah.
okay? I
That's
have
right.
like a dilemma in my life.
So give examples, simple examples.
Simple example,
Yeah.
I want to choose between two jobs.
Okay, good. So
I have
what's
an offer from this office
Right.
and another one, and I'm rich.
And
So you can choose.
So I can choose.
That's perfect. We spend our lives like that, right?
Yeah.
Do we spend our lives like that?
Yeah, we have all
Good.
the times.
Let me ask you some questions. Let me ask you some questions.
Okay.
The ability to choose the job that you think you like. What's that? What has to be within you already? What do you have to access inside you in order to come up with a decision to take that job? What do you have to do internally?
I'm searching for.
No, what will cause you to choose that job? What's the thinking you do, the logic you use in your own mind to say that's the job I want? What comes before that decision?
What would be best for
So a
me?
series of thoughts.
Yeah.
They're causes. So every decision you make is based on causes. That's called cause and effect. That's called dependent arising. There you go. You've got choice, honey. It just fits with cause and effect. But when we hear karma, we assume it's the opposite. It's the commonest question on every place I've ever been. So you've got to think through. Cause and effect is the point that everything we do is based on causes. So the assumption in your question is there's no causes in the past. We're just born as this blank slate and good luck and bad luck happens. That's fascism. That's madness.
But the causes, the thought that I have.
I beg your pardon? I beg your pardon?
The thoughts that I'm depending on.
Yeah, yeah.
And they are the causes to the truth.
They're the courses that you have to get into to think first this or that, and therefore this because of that, and I like that, and I'm good at mathematics. And why are you good at mathematics? Because you practice mathematics, and that means you can say, I like the mathematics job. All of that is a process of intelligence and cause and effect, which is why you can make decisions. If you're an idiot and sat there with no choice, you go, I don't know, you'd be dumb, you'd be useless. So cause and effect is fitting with the view of karma. If yesterday you practiced mathematics, would you agree that's the basis of your ability to choose a mathematics job? Do you accept that? Okay, good. You did it yesterday. Well, Buddha's just saying yesterday was a past life. The same concept, given that the consciousness is a continuity, you're not stuck in a body. So it's the same thing. You come programmed today with your mathematics study of yesterday, don't you? And your mind is programmed with it. That's the basis of the decisions you make today. So the basis, Buddha says you come programmed into this life with the things you've done in the past, and on the basis of this you make choices. So it's the same principle. You just got to get used to the idea of consciousness not being physical and going to past and future lives. Of course, I know it sounds bizarre because we're so addicted to the other view, and it's okay. But we're intelligent. We can posit it. Yeah. Yeah.
About karma of thoughts.
Karma of
the karma
thoughts.
that thoughts bring up.
I don't understand that question.
Okay, let's say I am very angry with someone,
Yeah.
and I think, what terrible things I will do to him.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
That's called anger, honey.
Yes. Now I'm not gonna act about.
That's right then.
On
That's
it,
right. So then,
no to speak about it.
what's here?
I'm not going to act on it or to speak.
Okay, good.
To
Well
say
done.
good
What a
things.
moral, good
But-
person. Amazing. She's practicing. What's the question?
And it helps me in the short term to release my anger.
Oh, sorry. What do you mean?
It helps me.
What does? You just said you're not going to talk about it.
Thoughts of anger.
It helps you get rid of anger.
Yeah.
Stop. That's like saying playing the piano helps me stop playing piano. Excuse me. You mean continuing to be angry stops you from being angry?
No,
Excuse me?
I'm saying it's not thoughts about anger, but thoughts of, let's say, revenge. Okay?
That's called heavy duty, extra special anger. So what's the point? What's the question, please? Question.
After I finish, let's say I imagine, please let me.
I know, but I'm wishing you'd ask the question.
Yes, I would have already. If you
No,
understand.
you're saying all the points. Just say the question.
After I kill in my imagination, I feel release and I'm not angry. I know it's just
I understand that.
Shaz,
So what's the
okay?
question?
Now
I
I'm
hear that.
asking these thoughts
Yeah, I understand.
that help me
Yeah, I understand.
stop being angry.
I'd completely argue with you and say you're completely in a fantasy world if you think it stops you from being angry. But never mind, I hear your question. Your question is then what? What's your question?
So I think.
No, I need your
it's
question.
beneficial
I don't want your
and
statement. I want a question, Precious. Please not think I'm aggressive. I know I'm aggressive, but I want your question. I want your question.
Are these thoughts beneficial?
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Good. Buddha says every millisecond of whatever we think first and then do and say leaves a seed in your mind. So every millisecond of what's called a delusion, a disturbing emotion, for example, anger, wanting to harm somebody, wanting to kill somebody, wanting to eat your wife for breakfast, like that guy in the, in the cannibal site, it leaves, you program your mind with that, very simple. And so, you keep developing it, and then eventually you'll have karmic results from that in the future. So it doesn't help you. It seems like release, because you get exhausted, basically. You've given up, exhausted by it. It doesn't help you. You've sown seeds in your mind that will help you continue to be angry and eventually to actually kill. So it's not useful, is what the Buddha's view is. You've got to take the view. You see, we're not thinking, we're not used to thinking that thoughts leave seeds in the mind that won't go away and that will bring future results. That's very abstract for us. If it comes to morality, it's not abstract when it comes to mathematics. If you think about mathematics for 20 minutes, that improves your capacity to be better at math tomorrow, doesn't it? Same here, Petal. You thinking about anger, forget future lives, you just increased your capacity to be good at anger. It's really kind of obvious.
So
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
That's the answer.
So when I'm angry, what the best thing to do would be to sit in meditation and
No,
observe.
screw
Okay.
meditation. Which religious ideas you people have?
So what do I do?
I'll get you to think about it and come up with an answer later. Okay, any more questions? Yes. What?
Eating animals.
Animals?
Eating animals.
What about it? What's the question? Again, what's the question? Ask me the question.
Is it okay? Because we.
What do you mean, okay? No, I'm sorry, I know I sound ridiculous, but I'm trying to be precise here. What's your proper question? Frame it within the Buddhist view. What's your
people,
question?
Especially people that are on the Buddhist path.
No, stop all this emotional nonsense. What's the question?
Is it okay to kill animals?
Okay, according to what and whom?
According to the.
So what is okay? No, I'm sorry, but
No.
you have to spell it
You
out.
said no. You
Okay.
said that eating your wife is not okay.
Excuse me, please,
so
please,
eating
please.
animals.
Excuse me, please. Okay, stop. I never said that actually. You
No,
thought I said
it's
it.
true. You
I
just
never
said, you
said
said
it.
that.
Excuse me, I never said it. I said, okay. I will spoon feed you.
Yeah.
Your question is, Robina, what is the karma for a person who eats meat? Is that your question? Or is your question the karma of a person who kills an animal? Which is the question? Eating meat or killing an animal? Which one was it? What was your question? What is it?
It's the same. I think both because.
No, please, which one is it? What's your
Both.
question?
I'm sorry,
So,
both.
okay, first, you want to know, what is the karma if I kill a dog and eat its flesh? Is that your question? Or is your question, what if someone serves me dog meat and I eat it? What is the karma? Maybe that's two separate questions, isn't it? Because every scenario is slightly different. So I both
No,
make...
I'll go to the.
So your question is... if
Let's go for cow, not.
Okay, good. Go with what? Go with what?
Cow.
Okay. So someone offers you a piece of cow's bottom, an ass, cow's ass on a plate, cooked nicely with green stuff sprinkled on top, and you're asking me the question, what karma do I create? Is that the question?
Yes.
Is that the question you're asking?
It's not the question I'm asking, but it's okay.
What's the question you're asking? What's the question you're asking?
No.
I want your question.
Before we speak.
Please, I don't need all the background. I just need the question. Thank you. It's really helpful for us intellectually to speak the question we have, because that implies you've thought it through, you've got a question, and now we can proceed to discuss it. Not a series of assumptions. Just the
talking about the
question.
morality behind it.
That's another question. Another way of saying what. That's another way of saying what is the karma.
Okay.
But that's what it means. Do you not realise that's what it means?
Look, in the 5 precepts, one.
Excuse me,
of the
I
things
know
not
all that, darling. Listen to me. I know that, but that means what is the karma that I create if I eat animals? That's the question. That's what it comes to, using Buddhist terminology. Okay. Well, there are so many scenarios there. I couldn't possibly answer your question. It's too broad. It's like saying how long is a piece of string. For example, remember we said here about killing. One person had a good motivation. Did you hear that? The mouse? Remember the mouse? They had a good motivation and they even killed the mouse. And I said that's even not even bad karma, but they created good karma. Did you hear that? Well, then the same here. If you eat the cow meat, because you go to someone's house and your grandma's really poor, she doesn't, let's say you're a vegetarian, she doesn't know you eat meat, don't eat meat, she's really poor, she bought a nice piece of meat for you, and you sit there and you think, oh dear grandma, how kind she is, and so you eat the meat. Well, I would tell you, you'd create really good karma because you were kind and compassionate to your grandma. That's one answer and one scenario. Another scenario would be you absolutely attached to meat. And you know it's the animal, you're happy the person killed it, you're so relieved you didn't have to do the wretched work of killing the damn cow yourself, you go, what a relief, and I'm going to eat my dinner. That's heavy duty karma. Because karma, honey child, is based on what's on your mind. This is the point of karma. Please, you've really got to, you've got so many assumptions, it's overwhelming, I can't even get through to you. Look, she's even worse than Abraham. I am rude, but I'm trying not to be rude,
No,
darling.
I'm not.
But you've got to, karma starts with your mind. It's called intention.
Yes.
Then second, the karma that you create, the seeds you leave in your mind are based on a million different things, but the essence of it is like I said before. The key thing is the intention to do something, and then what determines the character of the action you do, which is another word for what the karma you create, which means the seeds you leave in your mind, which is the seeds that will bring future results to you, is dependent on your motivation.
Okay,
That's the answer to you, and then you can
So if
process
somebody
that.
served me his wife,
Yeah.
and I don't, I didn't kill the wife, and he really served me his wife because he loves me and he
Yeah,
thinks that's
right.
best food.
Yeah.
So I should tell him, let's say my grandmother served me, my grandfather, and because she did it for me, because she loves me, and she did the killing because whatever reason, so I should eat it and
No, you don't have to. You can say it
So,
might
I
make.
mean, we can take
No,
it.
you don't have to. It might say it might make you vomit. That's another scenario. You see, everything is a different scenario. You want a black and white, absolute fundamentalist answer. It is wrong. How dare a person eat meat? So that's what. But I'm not going to say that. I'm going to. It's extremely nuanced. I'm not saying anything about you should eat meat or not. I'm not saying you should be a vegan or not be a vegan. But I'm trying to think it through logically and carefully and precisely. Because karma, like all laws. You sow one seed in the ground here due to the weather, and it'll be another thing somewhere else because everything's so nuanced and so different. Now, start is a starting point. In general, Buddha's starting point instructions to sentient beings, he says, try not to harm sentient beings. That's his first instruction. He would say, try not to kill, rape, steal, lie, badmouth. A few little instructions, starting point for a Buddhist. And the reason he's giving us the advice, like a doctor, to do that, because he has found that doing those actions, which are motivated by attachment and anger and all the rest, they will sow heavy negative seeds in our mind that will ripen as our suffering, similar to that in the future. So it's out of extreme kindness that Buddha is suggesting we live our life by not harming sentient beings. That's the first step. That's the fundamental one. Now, if we look at the world, we can see, can we not, that there are billions and trillions of sentient beings. Buddha would say they're all equal in wishing not to suffer, and they're all equal in wishing to be happy. And that's not including the cows and the meats and the animals, That's including all the creatures. So even if you're, say, a vegetarian, even if you're a vegan, which is incredible to do that based on compassion, that's a fantastic way to live your life if your wish is to not harm sentient beings. Fantastic. That's virtue. If you're a vegan because you want to be healthy, that's samsara. There's no virtue in it. None whatsoever. It's just you might as well eat anything. It's not virtue, because virtue is determined by the motivation in the mind. So, given that, let's say you're a vegan, then billions of creatures, as I said before lunch, do you accept that billions of little creatures got slaughtered in the growing of the rice, the growing of the veggies, the driving of the veggies to the store? Do you accept that they're sentient beings, and do you accept they got slaughtered? Do you accept
Yes,
that?
yes.
Okay, so it's quite complex and quite difficult if we live on this planet to not harm sentient beings. So given that, the Buddha says, of having an awareness that we are living in a planet occupied by billions of beings, we make our choices to attempt to do everything we can in our power not to harm sentient beings. That's the instruction. And we look at that and do the best we can. And for whose sake? First, for our own. And then it can be also based on compassion, even more profound. That's the answer, the broad answer. You can take 47 scenarios about what if I eat meat now, what if I do this then, what if I kill that person then. We can look at each one individually because they're very individual. So that's the general instruction, you know.
She don't like.
No, but why don't you like it? What's your problem with it? Why isn't that making you think, wow, it's amazing? Why aren't you in tears of compassion for all the sentient things and think, I'll do my best? Why are you looking kind of, what's the problem with this? Tell me the problem with that answer. What is your problem with the answer?
I think when you're going to the supermarket.
No, what's your problem with the... I didn't say you shouldn't go to the supermarket. I didn't say you should. Why are you suggesting this is not... Why do you think what I'm saying is suggesting you can kill or lie or steal or eat meat? Why are you suggesting I'm thinking that? Why are you suggesting I'm suggesting you can eat meat? Why do you think I'm saying that? You're suggesting that.
Because...
Why do you think I'm saying that?
Because you're not suggesting otherwise.
But excuse me, I'm giving you the intelligence to think it through.
You're asking me, so...
I know, but you're assuming I'm saying it's okay to eat meat.
It's okay.
No, please, no, it's not
Accept
okay,
your-
darling.
your-
No, don't accept. We're using debate here, of thinking about things.
No, this is not the debate.
It is debate. You should see Tibetans. They beat each other up practically. In
We
their
cannot
debate.
do it to you.
In their debate. Very welcome. You're very welcome. But listen, I'm not suggesting, I have not said one word about whether you should eat meat or not. I never said that word. I've never said you should, wear leather belts or not wear leather belts. I've never said any of the other things. But one of the things is we always talk about only eating meat, because I think we're attached to food. I've never yet had a person ask the question, what is the karma or the morality of wearing a leather belt? That kind of thing. We always ask about food because there's so much emotion around food.
I think it's the same.
Yeah, that's right. So then,
It's the same,
no,
absolutely.
but no one ever asks it because we're very attached to meat. I'm sorry, we're very attached to eating food. There's a lot of emotion around eating because we're so neurotic about food. So I've not said you can eat or not. I would never say that. There's no such thing as saying you can or you can't. Take the basis of the principle and we come to our own conclusions. I did not say you can go to the supermarket and eat meat. There's no such thing as can or can't. I'm giving you the basic Buddhist instruction. His fundamental point is don't do everything we can to not harm sentient beings. So he leaves us the intelligence to think that through and make our own decisions, honey. If you want a fundamentalist communist answer, don't do this or you go to hell, then I'll give it to you, but I refuse to. You are super intelligent. You can come to your conclusions. I'm not saying don't or do eat meat. I'm not saying that. I never said once. Never once. I don't know why you want me to say something. Are you hearing me? But I never said it. And I never suggested it. Are we now communicating a little bit? Please, sweetheart.
Not really, but thank you for
But
the answer.
yeah, and think through what it is I'm not communicating with, and maybe you say it later in another question. I'm very happy to hear it. But that's Buddha's instruction. That's Buddha's instruction. Can you not hear me? All I'm doing is giving you Buddha's teaching.
I hear you, but if I
Good.
don't,
So where's
if
the
I
problem?
don't agree with you, just
Good.
means
So
I don't
what's the
hear you,
problem?
but I
With
respect your answer.
okay. With which piece do you not agree? Precisely. With which piece that I just said before? Which, and I'm repeating, the answer I gave you is Buddha exhorts us to do everything we can in our power to not harm sentient beings. So what is it about that you disagree with? That statement, because that's the statement I made. That was my answer to your question.
Your answer regarding going to your grandmother and eating meat is basically
What I tried to do was give an example of a scenario, and then I could give you another. I gave you two scenarios, and they're different karma because of the motivation in the mind. That's why I answered like that, just to show you can't give a blanket answer. One person, the medicine will kill them, another person will help them. So one person has compassion and doesn't want to eat meat, but out of kindness to their grandmother they eat it. Another person is happy to eat meat and is glad the person killed it. So the karma each of those people creates is completely different, like the two scenarios of killing the mice, because their motivations are different. The key about karma is the motivation you have. That determines the karma you create. That was the answer
But
there.
we all know what happens to the animal. I mean,
None of that is a discussion here.
why?
I told you the
We eat
answer.
the meat and we buy the meat, so we.
I didn't say any. I didn't
we
suggest you
invest
should.
in that. In
Yeah.
that, in
I
that,
didn't say you should eat. I didn't say that.
History of
Yeah.
torturing.
Exactly. I didn't answer
and
that.
saying that somebody else was killing the animal.
Yeah, all of that's
and,
true.
the goldfish in my tank, in my room, I would not eat, right? I would not eat my dog.
I've said
Somebody
none of
else-
this. All this is coming from your mind. Nothing to do with what I've said. Not a zero. No, nothing to do with it all. As if you. Nothing to do with it all. Let me tell you about. I remember one. This is. I remember one Okay, I'll say a few more things. It's always an interesting topic. Okay. One scientist in Australia got so fed up with all the fundamentalist vegans and vegetarians, and I'm not saying you're one of them. I'm just giving you a story. Well, now she's confessed to it. I can say she is. Okay.
You see, I'm not lying.
Yeah,
Oh, it's okay. So good. So, pardon? She was, as usual, giving comedy. What are you going to say?
No.
What was your comedy? You
Yeah, I say it's fundamental.
shh. Don't be so rude.
It's
Leave
very
her alone.
easy
Mind
to
your own
try to
business.
shut people up to say them you're fundamentalist.
You,
Then-
and that's right. You're very.
then
So
don't
stop.
know
No,
about
I
it
didn't
because
say
you're
you
crazy.
Hey.
I think this one.
Excuse me. Mind your own
Sorry.
business. You're so rude. Don't just say that to her. It's her opinion.
No.
Let her have her opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please.